As hunters, we have an obligation to harvest our food legally and ethically. The same responsibilities come after you've harvested your game. Proper field care and attention to not wasting meat is the law. Now, my point today is that more waste happens in the freezer than in the field. According to the FDA, uncooked meats in the best case scenario are only good in the freezer for up to 12 months. Today I'm going to show you how to can ground meat and cubed meat, all venison in the classic pressure cooker style. Now make sure you read your instruction manual on the pressure cooker. Here's some real general rules. Always boil and wash your jars, lids, and rings. It's important that they're sanitary. Now, all that has been done prior to, but I use my Insta-Hot on the counter just to sanitize right before I pack the meat. So with this first look, we're going to put ground venison right in the jars and pack it down right up to about an inch of the lid. That little green funnel there will give you just the proper amount of spacing so your jars can seal properly. With the jars all packed, wash your hands and then take a dry, clean paper towel and dry the rim of each jar. Take your lids out of that hot water so that the seal is pliable. Place it right over top of the jar and then just barely hand tighten your ring around the top. Now, this is where I say read your instruction manual. I've done it a handful of times where I just eyeball it. I put about 2 inches of water in the bottom of that pressure cooker, stack my jars in there, then slide that thing over to the stove, turn it up on high, let it get hot, and make sure that that pressure seal comes up and locks before you weight it. After you've reached your full cooking time, depending on the product in the jar and the size of your jar, shut everything off, make sure there is no pressure, pull your lid, and set your jars out to cool. They should look just like this, and you should hear a very identifiable pop as they seal and cool. As you would expect, all the same principles apply to canning chunked meat versus canning ground meat. So I want to just give you a quick tip here. This is a whitetail hindquarter. If you've never done any meat cutting, here's the rules. Just follow those white seam lines everywhere you go. Little cuts, and as soon as you get it cut, you can kind of get in there with your fingers and hands and pull it apart. But that's how you get your identifiable muscle group cuts. From there, I'm just going to trim it up clean, stuff it in the jars, and repeat the process. Okay, I got the perfect scenario to show you why we can meats, or why it's great to have a bunch of canned meat around. So my wife and daughter are on the way home from a big girls retreat, and they're hungry, and I want to make dinner. So they're going to be home in about 30 minutes. I don't have time to thaw out a pound of ground meat, so I just grabbed some of the stuff we canned from the other day. This is just canned ground meat, no flavor on it whatsoever. Went through the fridge. I've got some peppers, onion, tortillas, lettuce, cheese. Sent my son to the store for some salsa and some avocados. Let's get to prepping. Okay, here's one of my favorite canned venison meals. So we're just going to cut up a bunch of peppers, a bunch of onions, saute them down in the pan with a little butter, and then I put those aside because not everybody likes it in the meat. Then we're going to make up a little ghetto guacamole, I call it. No salsa, nothing. I got a little girl that doesn't love all that stuff in there. So we're going to mash up a couple of avocados, a little bit of mayo, garlic salt, onion powder. Delicious. Make sure you're cleaning your bowl. Presentation is everything. From here, I'm going to mix up a little batch of chipotle taco seasoning, a little bit of water. My son is going to grill up a whole bunch of tortillas. About the time the girls get home, I'm going to take that meat out of the jar, warm it with the taco seasoning. We're going to have us a great meal in no time.
Welcome home.
Here we are.
Welcome.
Hello, little man. How are you?
I'm coming.
The money shot.
When is he not coming?
So in short, just break the seal on that jar, put the entire contents right down in the pan, warm it with whatever flavored dish you're doing. Tacos, taco seasoning, barbecue, barbecue sauce, Asian, teriyaki. Make yourself a big old family meal in minutes.
Ready? Lord, thank you for this meal that you put before us. Thank you for the animal that you gave us that provided this meal. Thank you for the quick canning method that gives us a meal right now. Thanks for bringing the family home safe. In your name we pray. Amen.
Now call me an old fuddy-duddy, but all that time in the field, chasing that game, taking good care of it, canning and preserving it to make one quick 20-minute meal with my family was completely and totally worth it. Now, I thought you guys might like this portion of the video. I've been looking for a way to store all the canned goods or the jars, and I found this old pallet laying on the road. So I grabbed it, and I had this idea that I could make a jar holder out of it. So naturally, it's been around for a really long time, and the integrity of the pallet was not there. So I cut the back rungs off, and I took a full sheet of plywood and measured it so I had a solid back, because I want to use this upright against a wall. Now I'm going to put this piece in the garage, so if I cut a solid blonde wood back against the gray barn wood, it won't look great. So I've used a product for years called driftwood. Comes in a little packet, and you just mix it with water, and you can brush it on just about any wood, and it will gray it to a pretty similar gray of what you're using in a matter of minutes. With now my back panel in a similar tone, I'm just going to screw it off good and tight and square up that pallet. Now, what I thought was the difficult part of the project being over, I realized I'm just getting started. So I grabbed a hole saw that is 3 5/8 inches in diameter, which is a little larger than the jars because I want the jars to rock back and up. The downfall to canned meats is they look terrible. If you were ever going to serve somebody a meal with a can of meat, they're probably not going to like it. But if you don't see it, it's delicious. So I'm going to cut as many holes or drill as many holes in this pallet as I can in order to put jars in place. Once I've cut my holes, I got to sand those edges, and then I'm going to take that same driftwood product and I'm going to wipe all the raw wood sections so it looks like it was made natural and old. After several hours of prepping and tinkering with old wood that fell apart and I had to glue back together, I decided to fasten it to the side of this old bench in the garage so I can stack all the jars in it out there. I just got it level, ran a couple screws in there, and I was super happy with it. I got to hand all those jars of meat to my wife and daughter and have them slide them in there. And then I got to look and, hey, it's just out of place in the garage. I'm going to have to make this whole wall right here look barn woody and old. So check it out. I found some old-timey labels that you can chalk right on the jars. So I would put white-tailed deer, ground, 2015. Then I found an old fence post that would shroud one side and a smaller fence post to shroud the other. I put all my cans in there, then took some old mason jars, filled them full of all the recovered bullets, rattlesnake tails, extra tusks, spike horns. I got a whole bunch of pedicle pieces and clorets from New Zealand where they shed in the paddock. And I just shrouded the whole thing in barnwood, and I love the way it turned out. I got one little rustic corner of the garage full of meat that I harvested. It's a wonderful thing. Taking good care of your meats is hunter obligation. These canned goods, these canned meats, everything from fish and pork and venison, antelope, deer, elk, everything that's here has got a shelf life of 2 to 5 years. You ever want to really check a homeless person on the corner? Hand them a jar of canned meats and find out if they're legit. It's a great way to preserve your meat. This little project was kind of fun. I have an endless amounts of trinkets and pieces and parts. Not everybody in my family loves this, but it was fun to do. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helps with consuming your game meats through the year. Thanks for watching.